Captain Jiwan pressed her face against the bridge window of the salvage ship New Seoul. Her breath made small clouds on the cold glass as she stared at something that should not exist. Floating in the asteroid field ahead was the largest ship she had ever seen. The alien vessel was massive. It stretched across the darkness like a small city made of metal and strange curves. The New Seoul was not a tiny ship, but this thing made it look like a toy. Jiwan had been salvaging wrecks for 15 years. She had pulled apart everything from old cargo haulers to military destroyers, but nothing like this. "Minho, tell me what your scanners are showing," she called to her engineer. Minho looked up from his station, his dark eyes wide with surprise. "Captain, this is impossible. The hull is mostly intact despite massive battle damage, but the power readings are off the charts. This thing still has a working reactor." Jiwan felt her heart speed up. A working reactor meant technology. Technology meant money, lots of money. "Yemen, can you plot us a safe approach?" she asked her navigator. Yemen was already working at her console, her fingers dancing across. "The controls. The asteroid field is thick, but I can thread us through. Just give me 10 minutes to map the debris patterns." Tai-hyun, their communications officer, looked up from his station. "Captain, I am trying to identify this ship design. It does not match anything in our databases. The hull markings are in a language I have never seen." Jiwan walked around the small bridge, studying the alien ship from different angles. The vessel showed clear signs of battle. Huge sections of the hull were torn away, revealing twisted metal underneath. Scorch marks covered the surface where energy weapons had struck. Whatever had attacked this ship had hit it hard, but it had survived. "Look at the size of those weapon mounts," said Do-yun, their security chief. He was pointing at massive structures along the ship's hull. "Those guns could probably destroy our entire ship with one shot." Jiwan nodded. This was clearly a warship. But from what military she did not know. Humanity had only been traveling between stars for 50 years. They had met a few alien races, but most contact was limited to trading posts on the frontier. This ship belonged to someone much more advanced than humans. "Captain," Yemen called out, "I have our approach route ready, but I should warn you, there are some very large pieces of debris floating around that ship. Looks like parts of other vessels." Jiwan studied the debris field more carefully. She could see chunks of metal that looked like they came from smaller ships. Whatever battle had happened here, the big ship had not fought alone. "Any signs of life?" she asked. Minho shook his head. "No life signs at all, but the ship is definitely powered. Artificial gravity appears to be working. Atmosphere is present in most sections. It is like the crew just disappeared." This was getting more interesting by the minute. Jiwan had heard stories from other salvage crews about ghost ships found drifting in space. Usually they were human vessels that had suffered some accident. But an alien ghost ship this size was unprecedented. "Taehyun, send out a standard salvage claim beacon. If anyone objects, they can file a complaint with the Frontier Commerce Authority." Taehyun nodded and began transmitting. Under salvage law, any ship found abandoned in unclaimed space became the property of whoever found it first. The law was simple and clear. It had to be, because space was vast, and ownership disputes could take years to resolve. "Beacon is active, Captain. We now have legal claim to the vessel." Jiwan felt a thrill of excitement. If they could get this ship back to human space, it would be the biggest salvage score in history. The technology alone could make them all rich. But first they had to get aboard and figure out what they were dealing with. "Yemen, take us in. Nice and slow." The New Seoul moved carefully through the asteroid field. Chunks of rock and metal drifted past their windows. Some of the asteroids were the size of buildings. Others were small enough to bounce off their hull with barely a sound. As they got closer, the alien ship grew even larger. Jiwan could see details in the hull design now. The armor plating was arranged in overlapping scales like some enormous fish. Strange symbols were carved into the metal in places. The overall shape was sleek and predatory, like it was built for speed and violence. "My God," whispered Na Young, their medical officer. "How many people do you think this ship carried?" Minho was running calculations on his console. "Based on the volume and assuming similar crew density to human ships, maybe 300 people. Could be more if they pack their crews tighter than we do. 300 people who had simply vanished." Ji-won wondered what had happened to them. Had they evacuated during the battle? Were they captured? Or worse? "I am detecting multiple airlocks," Hyemin reported. "The main cargo bay looks intact. We could dock there safely." Ji-won made her decision. "Take us in. We are going aboard." The New Seoul approached the alien ship's cargo bay. The opening was enormous, easily large enough to fit their entire vessel inside. As they drew closer, lights began to activate automatically. The alien ship was welcoming them. "Automated docking system is engaging," Hyemin said with surprise. "Their computers are talking to ours. The compatibility is remarkable." They felt a slight bump as docking clamps engaged. The New Seoul was now physically connected to the alien vessel. There was no turning back now. "Minho, grab your engineering kit. Do-yun, you are with us for security. Na-young, bring medical supplies in, case we find survivors." Ji-won looked around at her crew of 12. They were good people who had worked together for years. They trusted her judgment and she trusted their skills. But none of them had ever attempted anything like this. "Tae-hyun, you stay here and monitor communications. If anything goes wrong, undock immediately and get word back to human space." She took a deep breath and headed for the airlock. On the other side of that door was technology that could change everything for humanity, or dangers that could get them all killed. The airlock cycled, and they stepped into the alien ship. The adventure of a lifetime was about to begin. The airlock door opened with a soft hiss. Captain Ji-won stepped through first, her boots making soft clicks on the metal floor. The sound echoed strangely in the vast space beyond. She had expected darkness, but instead found herself in a corridor, lit by strips of blue light along the walls. The hallway was enormous. The ceiling stretched high above their heads, at least twice the height of human ship corridors. Everything was built for beings much larger than humans. Ji-won felt like a child walking through a house designed for giants. "Stay close," she whispered to her team. Minho, Do-yun, and Na-young followed behind her, their equipment bags making small rattling sounds as they moved. The walls were covered in symbols that looked like flowing water frozen in metal. The alien writing curved and twisted in patterns that hurt to look at for too long. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows that seemed to move when no one was watching. "The gravity feels normal," Na-young observed quietly. "Whatever species built this, they must be similar to humans in that way." Minho pulled out his scanner and began taking readings. "Atmosphere is breathable. Temperature is a bit cold but comfortable. Air pressure is actually perfect for humans. That seems like an incredible coincidence." Ji-won nodded but said nothing. She was focused on the corridor ahead. It split into 3 directions, each path disappearing into blue-lit darkness. They needed to find the main computer systems if they were going to learn anything useful about this ship. "Which way, Captain?" Do-hyun asked. His hand rested on his sidearm, though Ji-won doubted human weapons would be much use against whatever technology this ship might have. Before she could answer, symbols began appearing on the walls around them. Lines of alien text scrolled past, glowing brighter than the emergency lights. Then, to everyone's surprise, words in human language appeared below the alien symbols. "Welcome aboard, Void Sovereign. Please state your business." The 4 humans looked at each other in shock. The ship was not only powered, but actively responding to their presence. Its computers had somehow learned human language just from their brief contact. "I am Captain Ji-won of the salvage vessel New Seoul," she said aloud, feeling somewhat foolish talking to a wall. We are claiming this vessel under standard salvage laws. More text appeared. Accessing legal databases. Salvage claim acknowledged under Galactic Commerce Code Section 7.4. You now have legal ownership of this vessel. Please be advised that previous crew evacuated safely. Ship designation Void Sovereign, Velcran Imperial Navy vessel. 779. Ji-Won felt her heart skip a beat. The Velcran Empire was something humans had only heard whispers about at frontier trading posts. They were supposedly one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. And now humans owned one of their battleships. "Can you show us to the main bridge?" she asked. "Certainly. Please follow the blue indicators." Lines of bright blue light appeared on the floor, leading down the center corridor. The four humans began walking, their footsteps echoing in the empty halls. As they moved deeper into the ship, they passed enormous rooms filled with equipment they could not identify. "Look at the size of those power conduits," Minho said, pointing at thick cables running along the ceiling. "This ship has more power than an entire human space station." They passed what looked like crew quarters designed for beings 8 feet tall. The doors were massive, and through open doorways they could see furniture that resembled human designs but scaled up significantly. Personal belongings were scattered around, as if the crew had left in a hurry. Whatever happened here, they did not have time to pack, Na-Young observed. She picked up what looked like a picture frame, but the image inside showed creatures that were definitely not human. The beings in the picture were tall and thin, with elongated faces and large eyes. The blue lights led them to a lift that could have carried 20 humans comfortably. As they rose through the ship, Ji-Won tried to imagine the size of the crew that had once operated this vessel. 300 beings, each one twice as tall as a human, working together to run this massive warship. The lift opened onto the bridge, and all 4 humans stopped walking. The space was incredible. Banks of controls and displays covered curved. Walls that stretched up into shadows. The captain's chair in the center was the size of a small room. Everything was built on a scale that made humans feel tiny and insignificant. But the technology was beautiful. Displays showed star charts with thousands of systems marked in different colors. Status boards flickered with information in the flowing, alien script. And best of all, everything appeared to be working perfectly. "Minho, can you interface with these systems?" Ji-Won asked. Minho approached one of the smaller control stations. As soon as he touched the surface, it lit up with human text and symbols. "Captain, this is incredible. The computer is adapting its interface for us in real time. It is learning how we think and work." He began exploring the ship's databases, his eyes growing wider with each discovery. "This ship has star charts for half the galaxy, technical specifications for weapons that could destroy planets, manufacturing templates for technologies we have never even imagined." Do-Yoon was examining what looked like tactical displays. "According to this, the Void Sovereign is not just a warship. It is a mobile factory. It can build its own weapons, repair itself, even construct smaller ships using raw materials." Ji-Won moved to what seemed like the navigation station. The displays showed their current location in the asteroid field, but also marked hundreds of other systems within range of the ship's engines. According to the readouts, this vessel could travel distances that would take human ships years to cover. "Captain," Na-Young called from a medical station. "You need to see this. The ship has automated medical facilities that could revolutionize human health care. I am seeing treatments for diseases we have not even discovered yet." The more they explored, the more valuable their find became. This was not just a ship. It was a complete technological upgrade for all of humanity. The knowledge contained in its databases could advance human civilization by centuries. But Ji-Won was also growing concerned. Ships this advanced did not get abandoned without good reason. What had forced the Velcran crew to evacuate? And why had they left behind technology this valuable? "Captain," Minho said from the main computer station, I am finding references to something called devourers in the ship's recent logs. The final entries mention a strategic retreat and emergency evacuation protocols. Before Jiwon could respond, new alarms began sounding throughout the bridge. Red lights flashed as symbols appeared on every screen. Warning, the ship's computer announced. Long-range sensors detect multiple fleets converging on this location. Estimated arrival time 4 hours. Recommend immediate departure. Jiwon looked at her team. They had found the greatest treasure in human history, but apparently, someone wanted it back. Captain Jiwon stared at the approaching fleet markers on the main display. Red dots were moving toward their position from 3 different directions. Whatever was coming, it was big, and it was coordinated. How long do we have? She asked Minho. 4 hours, maybe less if they push their engines hard, he replied, his fingers flying over the alien controls that had somehow become familiar in just a few hours. Jiwon made a decision that would change everything. We are taking this ship home. Get everyone aboard the Void Sovereign. We are leaving the New Soul behind. Do-Yun looked shocked. Captain, that ship has been our home for 5 years, and we have no idea how to operate this alien vessel. The computer is helping us learn, Jiwon said firmly. And this ship is worth more than 1,000 new souls. Minho, can you get the engines online? Minho was already working at what appeared to be the engineering station. The ship's computer had created a human-friendly interface that showed power flows and system status in ways he could understand. Engines are responding, Captain. The quantum drive system is incredible. We could reach human space in 3 weeks instead of the year it would take in our old ship. Within 2 hours, all 12 crew members had transferred to the Void Sovereign. The ship felt enormous around them, but the computer systems made it manageable. Automated systems handled most of the complex operations, while the humans learned to work with the simplified controls. Hyaman had taken over navigation from the massive helm station. Captain, I have plotted a course back to human space. But these pursuit ships are faster than I expected. They will catch up to us before we reach the border. Taehyun was monitoring communications from his new station. I am picking up transmissions in at least 4 different alien languages. Whatever these ships are, they really want this vessel back. The Void Sovereign accelerated out of the asteroid, filled with grace that amazed the human crew. Despite its enormous size, the ship moved like a dancer through space. The quantum engines produced power levels that human ships could not even dream of achieving, but their pursuers were persistent. Captain, Taehyun reported 3 days into their journey. The lead pursuit group is hailing us. They are transmitting in broken human language. Put them through, Jiwon ordered. A harsh voice filled the bridge. Human vessel, you have stolen. Property of the Velkran Empire. Return the Void Sovereign immediately or face consequences. Jiwon keyed the communication system. This is Captain Jiwon of the human salvage vessel. We claim this ship under standard salvage law. The vessel was abandoned and showed no signs of active ownership. The ship was not abandoned. It was evacuated during tactical retreat. Return our property. According to galactic commerce law, evacuation constitutes abandonment if no claim beacon is left behind. We found no such beacon. The ship is legally ours. The alien voice grew angrier. Humans do not understand the dangers they carry. That ship contains information that could destroy entire sectors. You must return it. The communication cut off, leaving the bridge in tense silence. Minho looked up from his engineering displays. Captain, I have been exploring the ship's manufacturing systems. We could build weapons and defensive systems using the fabrication units. The templates in the computer include designs for fighter craft and shield generators. Do it, Jiwon ordered. If they want to fight, we will give them one. The next 2 weeks passed in frantic activity. The human crew worked around the clock to understand and improve the alien systems. Sunwoo, their tech specialist, discovered that the ship's artificial intelligence could learn human tactics and preferences. The more they worked with it, the better it became at helping them. Johann and Jiho, their pilots, learned to operate Velcran fighter craft that the ship manufactured for them. The alien designs were faster and more maneuverable than anything in human fleets, but the humans found ways to improve them further by combining human piloting techniques with alien technology. Na Young made an incredible discovery in the medical bay. The ship's advanced medical systems could enhance human physical capabilities, making them stronger, faster, and more resistant to radiation. With Ji-won's permission, the entire crew underwent the enhancement procedures, but their pursuers were gaining ground. "Captain," Hyamin reported on the 14th day, "long-range sensors show at least 30 ships in the pursuit fleet, and there are more groups moving to intercept us from other directions." Ji-won studied the tactical display. The alien fleets were trying to box them in before they could reach human space, but she had an idea. "Change course," she ordered. "Take us back to the asteroid field where we found this ship." "Captain?" Hyamin asked in confusion. "If they want the Void Sovereign so badly, they can come and take it, but we will choose the battlefield." The ship turned toward the distant asteroid field, its powerful engines easily outpacing the pursuit fleet. The humans spent the journey preparing for the fight of their lives. Minho used the ship's mining systems to turn asteroids into weapons platforms. Do-yun organized defensive positions throughout the field. Sunwoo programmed the ship's computer to coordinate multiple simultaneous battles. 3 weeks after leaving the asteroid field, the Void Sovereign returned to where their adventure had begun. But now it was no longer an abandoned wreck. It was a human warship, crewed by 12 people who had learned to think like their alien vessel. The pursuit fleets arrived to find the humans waiting for them. "All ships, this is Captain Ji-won," she broadcast on all frequencies. "You want the Void Sovereign. Come and take it." The battle that would make humans famous across the galaxy was about to begin. The first ships to arrive were not what Ji-won had expected. Instead of the sleek Velcran vessels she had imagined, a battered human frontier fleet dropped out of quantum space near the asteroid field. Admiral Kyung-ho's flagship, the aging cruiser, Busan Pride, looked tiny next to the Void Sovereign. "Captain Ji-won, this is Admiral Kyung-ho of the Frontier Defense Force. Please explain how 12 civilian salvagers acquired a Velcran battlecruiser." Ji-won opened a channel to the Admiral. "Sir, we found this vessel abandoned in the asteroid field 3 weeks ago. We followed proper salvage procedures and filed a legal claim. Captain, do you have any idea what you have gotten yourself into? Half the galaxy is heading toward this location. 3 different alien governments have filed complaints with the Human Colonial Authority." Before Ji-won could respond, space around them filled with incoming ships. Velcran vessels with their distinctive scaled hulls arrived first, followed by ships from 2 other alien races the humans had never seen before. Within an hour, over 100 alien vessels surrounded the asteroid field. The largest Velcran ship opened communications. The voice that came through was different from their earlier pursuer. This one spoke perfect human language with a strange accent. "I am Prince Regent Kalthor of the Velcran Empire. I request permission to speak with the human who commands our vessel." Ji-won straightened in the oversized captain's chair. "This is Captain Ji-won. I command this vessel under legal salvage rights." "Captain Ji-won, I appreciate your position, but you must understand the situation. The Void Sovereign was not abandoned. It was evacuated during a strategic retreat from an enemy we call the Devourers. Your Highness, no distress beacon was left behind. Under galactic law, that constitutes abandonment." There was a long pause before the Prince Regent responded. "Captain, the Devourers are machines that consume entire star systems. They turn planets into raw materials for building more of themselves. The Void Sovereign carries critical intelligence about their weaknesses." Minho looked up from his station with alarm. "Captain, I am finding references to these Devourers throughout the ship's database. The final battle logs show the Velcran fleet was completely outmatched," Prince Regent Kalthor continued. We evacuated the crew not because we were abandoning the ship, but because we were using it as bait. The Void Sovereign has been broadcasting a distress signal designed to lure the Devourers into a trap. Ji-won felt her blood grow cold. What kind of trap? The ship's signal was meant to draw them into an ambush by our combined fleets, but you have disrupted those plans by moving the vessel. Worse, the signal has been broadcasting from your location for weeks. Tae-hyun suddenly looked up from his communications station. Captain, I am detecting massive quantum signatures approaching from deep space. Something big is coming. Admiral Kyung-ho's voice cut through the tension. All ships. This is Admiral Kyung-ho. I am reading multiple large contacts approaching at high speed. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. Prince Regent Kalthor's voice carried new urgency. Captain Ji-won, those are Devourer ships. They have followed the Void Sovereign's signal directly to this location. Your human space is now in immediate danger. The implications hit Ji-won like a physical blow. By claiming the alien ship, they had led an extinction-level threat directly toward human colonies. Millions of lives were at risk because of their salvage operation. How many ships? She asked quietly. Our long-range sensors indicate at least 200 Devourer vessels, Prince Regent Kalthor replied. Each one capable of stripping a planet, bare within days. Sunwoo was frantically working at his station. Captain, the ship's computer has more information about these Devourers. They are self-replicating machines controlled by an artificial intelligence. They have destroyed dozens of star systems. Admiral Kyung-ho cut in on the communication channel. Captain Ji-won, I am ordering you to surrender the alien vessel immediately. This is a matter of human survival. Ji-won looked around at her crew. They had spent weeks learning to operate the most advanced warship in known space. They had enhanced their bodies with alien medical technology. They had built weapons and defenses that surpassed anything in human fleets. And now they were being asked to give it all up. Your Highness, Ji-won said to the Velcran prince, what exactly was your plan for dealing with the Devourers? The combined fleets would ambush them when they arrived to investigate the Void Sovereign. Our hope was to destroy enough of their ships to force a retreat. Ji-won studied the tactical displays. The alien coalition had perhaps 150 ships total. Against 200 Devourer vessels, their chances seemed poor, and if your plan failed, then we would evacuate as many systems as possible and try to establish a new defensive line further away. Minho was reading through the ship's tactical database. Captain, the Void Sovereign alone has more firepower than 20 normal Velcron. Ships! Its manufacturing systems could build a fleet of support vessels in days. Do-hyun looked up from the security station. Captain, we know this ship better than anyone now. The computer has adapted completely to human thinking patterns. We might be able to use it more effectively than its original crew. Ji-won made a decision that would shock the galactic community. Prince Regent Kalthor, Admiral Kyung-ho, all allied vessels. This is Captain Ji-won of the human battleship Void Sovereign. We refuse to surrender our legal claim to this vessel. The I. Communication channels erupted with protests and threats. Ji-won continued speaking over the chaos. However, we propose an alternative. We will take command of the defense against the Devourers. All allied vessels will coordinate with us. Captain, Admiral Kyung-ho sputtered, you cannot be serious. 12 humans against an armada of planet killers? Admiral, we are not just 12 humans anymore. We are the crew of the most advanced warship in the galaxy, and we know how to use it. Prince Regent Kalthor's voice was filled with what might have been respect. Captain Ji-won, your species continues to surprise us. Very well. We will coordinate our forces with yours. But if you fail, entire sectors will be consumed. Then we will not fail, Ji-won replied simply. The preparations for the most important battle in galactic history began immediately. The next 5 hours passed in frantic preparation. Captain Jiwon stood on the bridge of the Void Sovereign, watching as her crew coordinated the largest defensive operation in galactic history. The ship's manufacturing systems worked without pause, creating weapon platforms and defensive positions throughout the asteroid field. Minho had turned dozens of large asteroids into automated gun platforms using Velcran mining drones and human engineering creativity. Each position could operate independently, creating a web of overlapping defensive fire that no single attack could overwhelm. "Status report," Jiwon called out. "All asteroid fortifications are online," Minho reported. "We have 43 independent weapon platforms positioned throughout the field. Each one has enough firepower to seriously damage a Devourer vessel." Sunwoo looked up from his station where he had been working with the ship's artificial intelligence. "Captain, the computer has learned to predict Devourer tactics based on the battle data in its memory. It can coordinate all our defensive positions simultaneously." Hyemen was plotting defensive formations with the Allied fleets. "The Velcran ships are taking positions behind the larger asteroids. The Zephyrian fleet is setting up on our left. Flank! The Corvani vessels are covering our right side." Admiral Kyung-ho's voice came through the communication system. "Captain Jiwon, my ships are ready to support your defense. But I have to ask, are you certain about this course of action?" "Admiral, we are committed. This ship chose us as much as we chose it. We are not giving up now." Nayoung had spent the preparation time enhancing the crew's physical and mental capabilities, using the ship's advanced medical systems. All crew members are now operating at peak efficiency. Reaction times are improved by 40%. Radiation resistance is at maximum levels. But the most important preparation was happening in space around them. Jiho and Johan were leading flights of newly manufactured Velcran fighters, but with human modifications that made them faster and more maneuverable than the original designs. "Fighter wings are deployed," Jiho reported over the comm. "We have 60 craft ready for combat. The alien pilots are having trouble keeping up with our flying patterns." Prince Regent Calthor opened a private channel to Jiwon. "Captain, I must admit your preparations are impressive, but you should know what you face. The Devourers adapt quickly to any tactics used against them. Each battle makes them stronger. Your Highness, they have never faced humans before. We adapt too. I hope you are correct, for all our sakes." The Devourer fleet arrived exactly when predicted. 200 vessels dropped out of quantum space at the edge of the system, each one a kilometer long and bristling with weapons designed to strip planets bare. They moved in perfect formation, like parts of a single organism. Jiwon studied them on the main display. The ships were dark and angular, covered in sensors and harvesting equipment. They looked more like enormous insects than vessels built by intelligent beings. "All stations report ready," she announced to her crew and the Allied fleets. "Remember, we are not just fighting for this ship. We are fighting for the right of humans to stand as equals in this galaxy." The Devourer fleet began its approach, moving steadily toward the asteroid field. Their formation was flawless, with larger ships protecting smaller ones while maintaining overlapping fields of fire. But as they entered the outer edge of the defensive zone, Jiwon sprang her first surprise. "Activate the asteroid mines," she ordered. Throughout the asteroid field, hidden weapons platforms that looked like ordinary chunks of rock suddenly came online. The Devourers found themselves flying through a maze of hidden guns that opened fire from all directions. The first wave of Devourer ships took heavy damage as they tried to identify and destroy the hidden weapons. But just as Prince Regent Calthor had warned, they adapted quickly. The second wave came through the field using different routes and tactics. "They are learning our defensive patterns," Sunwoo reported. "But the ship's computer is learning their adaptations too. It is adjusting our tactics in real time." The battle became a deadly game of move and countermove. Every time the Devourers found a way through the defenses, the human-controlled systems found a new way to stop them. The Void Sovereign's artificial intelligence, enhanced by human creativity and unpredictability, stayed one step ahead of the machine fleet. Devourer boarding ships are attempting to reach the Void Sovereign, Do-Yun reported. They want the ship intact. Not today, Ji-Won replied. Launch all fighters. 60 Velcron fighters with human pilots swarmed out to meet the boarding craft. The alien vessels were larger and more heavily armed, but the human pilots flew with an unpredictability that confused the machine intelligence controlling the Devourer fleet. Johann led his squadron through a series of maneuvers that would have been impossible for the original Velcron pilots. Human reflexes, enhanced by alien medical technology, proved superior for the split-second decisions required in fighter combat. But the real surprise came when Na-Young made her most important contribution to the battle. Using the ship's medical systems, she had found a way to interface directly with the Void Sovereign's combat systems. Captain, I can link my consciousness directly to the ship's artificial intelligence. It will allow us to coordinate the defense with perfect precision. Is it safe? Ji-Won asked. Probably not, but it might win us this battle. Ji-Won made the decision without hesitation. Do it. Na-Young activated the neural interface, and suddenly her awareness expanded to encompass the entire battlefield. She could see through every sensor, control every weapon, coordinate every movement of the defensive fleet. The effect was immediate and devastating. The human-machine hybrid consciousness could predict Devourer movements and counter them before they happened. Weapon platforms fired with perfect timing. Fighter squadrons moved in formations that seemed impossible. The Void Sovereign itself began maneuvering like a fighter rather than a battleship. The tide of battle turned in favor of the defenders. Devourer fleet is retreating, Tae-hyun reported with amazement. They are actually falling back. But Ji-Won knew the fight was not over. The Devourers would regroup and return with new tactics. The real test was still to come. The Devourer fleet regrouped at the edge of the system, but they did not retreat as everyone had expected. Instead, more ships began arriving through quantum space. Within 2 hours, their force had doubled in size. 400 machine vessels now surrounded the asteroid field, studying the defenses that had stopped their first assault. Captain Ji-Won watched the enemy formation with growing concern. The Devourers were not just adapting to human tactics. They were learning to think like humans. They are trying to understand our unpredictability, Na-Young reported from her neural link with the ship's systems. The machine intelligence is analyzing every move we made in the first battle. Minho looked up from his engineering station with worry. Captain, our weapon platforms took heavy damage in that first fight. We can repair some of them, but not quickly enough for another battle this size. The Allied fleets were in even worse condition. Admiral Kyung-ho's human vessels had exhausted most of their ammunition. The Velcran ships were low on power after maintaining their defensive positions. Only the Void Sovereign remained at full combat capability. Prince Regent Kalthor, Ji-Won called out on the communication channel. Your fleet should withdraw. This is no longer your fight. Captain Ji-Won, the Velcran prince replied. We began this battle together. We will finish it together, regardless of the outcome. Similar responses came from the other alien commanders. Despite their losses, none of the Allied vessels were willing to abandon the humans who had taken command of the defense. The Devourer fleet began its second assault with tactics completely different from their first attack. Instead of trying to force their way through the asteroid field, they began systematically destroying every asteroid, eliminating all cover and defensive positions. They are going to turn this into an open battle, Do-Yun observed. No cover, no defensive positions, just ship against ship. Ji-Won realized this was exactly what the Devourers wanted. In open space, their superior numbers would overwhelm any defense. The asteroid field had been the key to human success in the first battle, but humans had not survived and thrived across the galaxy by accepting defeat. All ships, this is Captain Ji-Won. We are not fighting this battle in open space. We are taking the fight to them." Before anyone could protest, the Void Sovereign began accelerating toward the Devourer fleet. The massive battleship moved with grace and speed that amazed even its alien observers. "Captain," Admiral Kyung-ho called out in alarm, "you are outnumbered 400 to 1. "Admiral, we are not one ship anymore. We are something new." As the Void Sovereign approached the enemy fleet, its manufacturing systems began working at maximum capacity. Not building weapons or defensive systems, but creating something that had never existed before. Dozens of smaller vessels began emerging from the battleship's construction bays. They looked like a combination of human design philosophy and Velcran technology, but they moved with intelligence and coordination that surpassed both species. "Drone fighters," Sun Wu explained to the amazed Allied commanders. "Controlled directly by the ship's artificial intelligence, but programmed with human tactical thinking." The drone swarm engaged the Devourer fleet in a battle unlike anything in galactic history. Each drone moved with the unpredictability of a human pilot, but the precision of a machine. They fought as individuals and as a coordinated fleet simultaneously. But the real shock came when the Void Sovereign reached the center of the Devourer formation. Instead of engaging in long-range combat, it began boarding enemy vessels. Do-hyun led teams of combat drones that cut through Devourer hulls and captured their ships from the inside. The machine intelligences controlling the enemy vessels could not understand or counter tactics that combined human boarding procedures with alien technology. "We are not just fighting them," Ji-won announced to the Allied fleets. "We are learning from them. Every ship we capture makes us stronger." Within hours, dozens of captured Devourer vessels had been reprogrammed to fight alongside the human-controlled fleet. The machines that had been designed to consume and destroy were now protecting and defending. The battle became a rout. Devourer ships that had seemed invincible began retreating in disorder. Their machine intelligence could not comprehend an enemy that turned their own weapons and tactics against them. As the last enemy vessels fled into quantum space, the Allied fleets gathered around the Void Sovereign. The battered human battleship now commanded a fleet of captured alien vessels and newly constructed drones. "Captain Ji-won," Prince Regent Kalthor said over the communication channel, "I believe we owe your species an apology. We underestimated you significantly." Admiral Kyung-ho's voice carried pride and amazement. "Captain, what you have accomplished here will be remembered for generations. Humanity has announced its presence to the galaxy in a way no one will ever forget." 6 months later, Captain Ji-won sat in the ready room of the Void Sovereign, now officially designated as the flagship of humanity's first interstellar navy. The ship had been modified extensively, with human and alien crew members working together to operate systems that neither species could have managed alone. The crew had grown from 12 to over 300, with volunteers from a dozen different species training to work with the human-alien hybrid technology. What had started as a simple salvage operation had become the foundation of a new kind of galactic civilization. Minho entered the ready room with his daily engineering report. "Captain, the manufacturing systems have completed another squadron of the hybrid fighters. We now have enough vessels to patrol 3 star systems simultaneously." Na-young followed with medical updates. "The neural interface technology is being adapted for use by other species. We may soon have truly integrated mixed-species crews throughout the fleet." Through the window, Ji-won could see construction ships building humanity's first deep space naval base around the asteroid field where they had found the Void Sovereign. The location was being turned into a training facility where humans and aliens would learn to work together. Prince Regent Kalthor visited regularly, no longer viewing humans as primitive but as potentially dangerous allies. The Velcran Empire had offered formal diplomatic relations and technology-sharing agreements. But more importantly, the galaxy had learned something new about the species that had turned a salvage operation into the foundation of interstellar power. Humans did not just adapt to the technology and tactics of other species, they improved upon them and made them their own. Taehyun entered with a communication from the frontier colonies. "Captain, we are receiving reports of another derelict vessel, this one in the Centauri system. The colonial authority is requesting that we investigate." Jiwon smiled as she looked out at the fleet that now called the Void Sovereign home. The ship they had claimed as salvage had become something much more important. It was proof that any species could rise to greatness if they were willing to seize their opportunities and defend their claims. "Set course for Centauri," she ordered. "Let us see what other treasures the galaxy has left for us to find." The Void Sovereign turned toward deep space, leading a fleet that represented the best of human determination and alien technology. What had begun as a salvage operation had become the birth of humanity's stellar empire. The galaxy would never again underestimate the species that claimed wrecks as their own and turned them into the foundations of civilization.